Hey guys, welcome back to another tying video with Old Florida. My name is Mike. Today we're going to be tying this guy. This is a Gummy Minnow. Super easy, not really easy, but super effective pattern, extremely durable pattern, and a lot of fish absolutely love these guys. So let's jump into the vise and start tying. First thing I'm going to do is take my hook. This is going to be a SL12S short in number 2. I'm going to take my lead wire. This is .020 lead wire. I'm going to put about 10 wraps or so, maybe a few more. I'm going to cover a little bit of the shank of the hook with that, wiggle that wire back and forth to pop it off in the back, slide it back a little bit, add a few more wraps, break it off, pinch it really nice tight together while spinning, so it really wants to keep that in place. I'm going to take my mono thread. I'm going to start nice tight wraps, really tight wraps, to anchor that wire right there, right in the front. I'm going to take my tag end, lay it over the top of this wire. I'm going to wrap extremely lightly right over this wire till I get to behind the hook. And I'm going to add some really tight wraps right behind it, behind the wire. And then I'm going to use my thread. I'm going to walk it right back up, lighter wraps. Add a few more wraps right in front. I'm going to take my thread, walk it right back over that wire again. And now I can start tightening down without it splitting apart and getting all crazy on me. You could just come in there, trim it out. Move that thread up to the front. I'm just gonna whip finish 2 or 3 times. I'm gonna do one more set of 2 or 3. And we got that tied off. Now we could take our thread and trim it out. Now we could set this bobbin aside for a little while. Now let's get into the actual material of the fly. So these are our materials that we're going to use. These are silly skins. You can use 3. I'm going to go with 2 right now just for ease of use and demonstration purposes. But you could do a top color, a middle color, and then a belly color. But for right now, I'm just going to use kind of a blended color. It's not going to be that bad. I just like a small little white baitfish. So when you get this stuff, it comes in a long sheet. That red is just a backing color, or yeah, just the backing color. I'm going to come in here. First thing I'm going to do is trim out a big triangle. So I'm going to start from a corner if I can. Trim out a big triangular piece. These big scissors, these are 6.5 EP scissors, are perfect for this. So once I have a little piece cut out like that, I'm going to come with my scissors. I'm going to measure out about 2.5 inches for this fly. This first piece is going to be a little bit longer than the back of the fly, and then we're going to trim it to length. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty long, about 2.5 inches for this fly. Overall length of this fly, you could see, I mean, right around 2.5 inches, 3 inches maybe. So I'm going to take my bodkin here. I'm going to peel off the side of this material just by getting underneath the corner. This is kind of a tricky part, and sometimes it does take a while. So just be careful with it. I don't have fingernails, so it's a little hard for me. But pinch a corner and pull it off that red backing. So this is baitfish belly that I'm using. I like to pinch it with my thumb, keep it on my thumb like that, invert my fly. With this Dynaking vise, it's really nice. It holds that jaw really tight. So I'm going to go ahead and press right in the middle of this triangle. Make sure it's nice and pressed down. I'm going to hold my finger right in the back in line with the eye of the hook going this way. I'm just going to take my fingers, I'm going to roll my fingers right up, pinching that material where it's gluing that material on itself. When you do this, you don't want to pull hard, you just want to roll your fingers right up. If you pull hard while you do this, you're going to get a really curly tail. It's going to want to kink backwards really, really bad. So when you do this, just fold it nice and easy right around that shank of the hook. So that's the first color that we're using. This second color is going to be our backing color, or our back color. So say if you were tying a white bait or a green back for the beach, I would come in here. This is a brand new piece of silly skin, but this, I could put this right here and do green, but I actually like a little white bait right now. I've seen a lot of little white baits in the lights on dock lights, so that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to take this material, I'm going to cut a nice triangle, the same exact length as that other one. A little bit narrower though. So when you do this, if you think about folding this over, when I fold this over, I want it to be a little bit smaller of a triangle. I don't want it to be the same length when you go down here. I want it to be a little bit higher. So when I fold it over, I could actually take my scissors and trim one side to make that triangle a little bit more narrow. So when I cut that, now you have to cut the tip flush or flat. So now it's a little bit thinner and more narrow than the other one that we just did. I want to stack it in steps. That builds a really good profile or lateral line for your fly. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to roll that bodkin on the side of this material, peel it off that backing plate, flip that fly over. I'm going to do the same exact thing. Put that piece right on my thumb, hold that fly upside down, move my thumb away, place that dead center in the middle, hold that tail nice and straight, and I'm just going to work this material. It's going to stick to itself really nicely, so I'm just going to work that material right back to where it's nice and even. Perfect. So you get that kind of look right there. Now all I'm going to do is just fold that guy over. Nice and easy. As I fold back, I'm just pushing that material on itself, making sure to pinch and fold it nice and tight. It's okay if that tail curls a little bit. We're going to trim this fly to length. So I always go a little bit longer, and then you could always trim it. Easiest part is you could actually take scissors on the boat, make this fly absolutely tiny, or if you tie it longer, just don't trim it and throw it, and you could change that profile so easily with this fly. Next up, we got the eyes. I'm going to take my little eye closest to me. I'm going to place it a little bit further behind the eye of the hook, right on that lead. I'll show you guys in one sec. So right there, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Try to make them nice and even. Bam, so we got those eyes on there. You could see it's kind of taking a little bit of shape. I don't even know what it looks like heck right now, but it's going to make it look real nice after we do this last part. So I'm going to come back in with my top color, my last color. I'm going to take my scissors. Like I said, the 6.5 inch scissors are super nice for this. One big sweeping cut all the way to the back. Sometimes, like I just did, if I make this cut and I make my triangle, on this last cut, we have to make it long enough. So right here, you see how I don't have it long enough to cover the bottom of this last little piece that we have on here? I'm actually going to take this off my vise. I'm going to trim this just a little bit shorter than I want the overall profile to be. So I'm going to nip that. I'm going to nip the back. This is smaller than I want the overall profile to be. On this step right here, when you cut the back like this, and then the front, you're going to leave a little tag around the hook. I take my scissors, press very lightly, and then spin that right around there. It'll usually cut it, and then you can just pull that out. That's the best way that I've found so far to trim these guys. So this is smaller than my overall desired length and shape. So this is kind of what I'm going for, because that's what's been in the dock lights recently. So I'm going to go a little bit longer than that with my next piece. So when I trim this, I'm going to go about yay long. You can see that's longer than the back of the tail. I mark that with my finger, and I'm going to go pretty wide on this strip because I want to cover all the way down. This last piece really encapsulates the whole fly, which is what you want. So now you can see that's a pretty big piece. When you fold it over, you're covering that whole fly. It's exactly what you're looking for. Let's repeat the same process. Take this guy off the backing plate. Trickiest part of the whole fly is getting this material off that backing plate. I like to take my bodkin, roll it on the edge, and then pull it off. All right. So I'm going to take my thumb the same exact way, lay it right in the middle of that fly. A little bit tricky to work with. Don't let it scare you. It's not that bad. Make sure it's nice and in the middle. A super important step of this fly, make sure that tail is pushed all the way tight to the silly skin in the back. You can see I'm really manhandling this material. Don't worry about breaking it, you're not. Just make sure this tail material is pushed all the way down. Once we got that, I'm going to fold it all the way over itself, covering everything, adhering it back to itself. So I'm sticking this material all the way back to itself. You can see I'm covering the jaws on my hook, my vise right now. Just fold it over. Perfect. So that's what we got so far, and that's what we want. Take it out of our vise. I'm actually going to pinch that really nice and hard, so we're covering everything. Now this is really where those long scissors come in. I'm going to take one big sweeping cut all the way up to the hook. I'm going to flip that fly around, do the same exact thing, trying to get that desired profile. And then most of the time you could get away with just pulling that little piece around the hook and it'll come out. That little trick that I said, putting the scissors on the hook and then twisting, usually makes it pretty nice. Cool. So that's our overall desired profile right there. That's what we want. That's what I want out of it. You could probably trim that tail just a little bit shorter for me. I'm gonna come in here, trim that out a little bit more. Perfect. Now I can take my bobbin with my thread. I'm going to come here and I'm going to capture the front of this material. If you see that, I'm rolling that material right up forward a little bit. I'll do that same thing on the bottom of the fly. I'm going to capture that bottom little material right there. As far as you can up forward, just grab a little piece of it. This is going to give that nice little rounded baitfish head. So once I capture that, I'm almost going to pinch and pull and saw. I take a half a wrap and I'm sawing that material in half. I'm actually cutting through that material. I'm perforating that material so I could pull it off in a later step. So I'm going to trim out my tag end. I'm going to put one set of 2 or 3 whip finish. Now I could pull that material. It's cutting through the material, which is what I want. Now I'm going to come in here, my fingers. I'm going to pull that material all the way out. Remember, we just cut through that material, and this gummy stuff is extremely sticky. So as soon as you pull that material off, it's just going to adhere to the closest thing, and it makes a really nice concaved head that baitfish typically have. Trim that out. Use that finger, really get in there and pull it out. I take my fingers and I just kind of manipulate that material, roll it back on itself a little bit, give it that same kind of profile that I want. And that's going to be the done fly. This is an extremely durable little fly. Perfect for, like I said, dock lights, false albacore, little toonie. It's just an all-around good fly pattern. I know it's a little controversial. Yeah, there's no actual material besides silly skin. One last little step, if you come in here and you add a little bit of Loctite Super Gel right on that bottom side, this fly is incredibly durable. You can catch 4 or 5 snook on this before it even resembles looks like it got hit before. This is just an all-around white bait fly. I mean, I like this color personally. You can change it up. You could do a different color on the top as that second material. And to tie them up, it's really not that bad. They're extremely durable. They last really, really long. I enjoy fishing these. It's a little bit hard to throw, but if you're looking to get down off the beach for snook, this guy is an absolute killer for beach snook. So give it a try, and I hope you enjoy. And as always, we hope to see you guys out on the water.